Okay, we're back for the last podcast, at least of this part of the postseason. Coach, I'm going to ask you what were some of the highlights of this season, and where would you put this team up with the past teams of the San Diego Force history?
Well, highlight for me was just the way this team kind of, over the course of the season, just kept getting better and better and better. We added different pieces, what seemed like weekly almost. At the beginning of the year, I was talking to some of the coaches, and we just thought we wouldn't be very good at the time. And then, we went over to Palm Springs, and we took that first game of that series. All of a sudden, I go, okay, we could be all right. But at the same time, we got 4 or 5 new players at that point in time that made some big differences. And then, of course, highlight would have to be winning the regular season of the SCCBL. I think it was important for us to do that in our first year there. And not only that, kind of be behind the 8 ball after losing a couple of games in a doubleheader there to Palm Springs. We found ourselves behind, and then they kind of lost a few, and we talked to our guys about winning every single game after that, and we did. So that was huge. And then, to be honest with you, I really liked the way we played in Wichita. After, we won the first game, we played horribly the second game, maybe one of the worst games we've played all year. And then for us to come back and play the way we did for the next few games, that was great. And, we're a call away from continuing on. I really felt the momentum and stuff was going our direction.
Now, you've been around this organization since its inception 8 years ago, I believe. I don't know if you ever spend much time ranking the teams by year, but where would this team fit in that 8 years of its history?
I've been certainly one of the top ones. I mean, we only have 8 years history, so I guess you put them in the top 8. They're a very good team, maybe the most balanced team we've ever had. We've had teams with tremendous pitching, and we struggled to score some runs. We've had the opposite a lot, where we had just teams that could score at will, but pitching maybe wasn't as good. This had a good combination of both. And we played great defense, and this was certainly the fastest team we've ever put on the field. So I think it's got to be up there in the top 3 for sure. We may have been missing maybe 1 or 2 more just stud arms that we could lean on, but I thought, this team, the record shows it. I mean, we were, 40 and 41 or 42 and 8, so it's a pretty darn good season.
Yeah, definitely an excellent season, and congratulations to you and all your hard work. Now, you did mention the talent of this team, and you were able to get a number of these guys signed at the end of the NBC World Series. Is there any of the names that you want to go over real quick, or any updated signings for any of the Force players?
Well, the big one was Adam Quintana. He signed right away with the Texas Rangers. I know they were very interested in after pitching his first game in the World Series, and then pitching a great second game as well. So he signed right away. Chase Tucker signed to play some independent ball, along with Alex Cruz and Christian Cox. In fact, the fun part was Christian and Alex both went to the same team, the Evansville Otters. And the other great thing about that is we also have 2 players on that team from last year's squad with Will Oliver and Connor Little. So we got 4 of those 4 Force members just on that one professional team. And there's some more coming out, too. There's some of the different independent leagues have different times where they do their trade deadlines and signing deadlines. And so I know a few of our kids are still in limbo, but they should be signed here next week or so.
Now, are you prepared now to announce the end of the season awards?
I can announce a few of them for you. Most valuable player was Chase Tucker. I think when you look at Chase and what he did this year, if you looked at one of the top hitters, he'd be going for that award. If you looked for best defensive player, you'd go for that award, et cetera, et cetera. He's had a tremendous year playing shortstop for us. He's one of our top hitters, top defenders. So he's probably our most valuable player and playing one of the most difficult positions, of course, field. A tie for the pitcher of the year, Josh Mackler, and he got done over a couple other great pitchers with Quintana and DuPont, and we had some great starters. But Josh was there all year for us, was dominant on the mound. His improvement over the last 3 years is tremendous. And then he also shared that award with Justin Hertzman because out of the bullpen and as a closer role, Justin was perfect. He shut everything down when we had a situation where we had 3 or less run lead. He came out of the bullpen and shoved it, and we got a win every time he got out there. So those 2 shared the Pitcher of the Year award. Defensive Player of the Year went to Brock Asher, who was tremendous. I thought one of the highlights actually came at the end of the year when he threw that guy out at the World Series. I think it was against the BJs. He threw him out from center field to home and kept us to get a 2-1 lead, so that was huge. And then most improved went to Trey Hunt. Trey has been with us for the last couple of years, tremendous hitter and an outfielder, but he struggled at the very beginning of the year with a little bit of his bat. trying to do some different things, what he was doing in college. But in the last half to quarter of the season was just on fire. I think he hit over 600 over the last month of the year, and finished over 300 for the season. So just did a good job there.
Well, so obviously a lot of great guys contributing, and I suppose that was not the easiest decision to have to come up with those names because of so much competition for that talent.
Definitely, and we still have a couple more awards we're going to announce. We're going to announce our batter of the year, and part of the reason why we haven't done that yet is because there's so many guys that vying for that, as well as what we call the General Manager Award, the Force Award. So we'll announce those two probably in the next couple.
Now, did Chase Tucker's nod get any consideration taken for his efforts driving Van 2 out?
I think that took him over the top. That was important for us to get us out there safely. Although it took some points away, him not driving back, honestly, and brought him back to the pack a little bit more. I thought that was kind of a, he said easy way out for me, and that he certainly took the easy way out flying home.
Now, I got to ask you this. You guys did make it back safely, not quite in record time. Any highlights or recap you could share with the fans at home about the return trip from Wichita?
Well, number one, we let Van 2 go about 4 to 4.5 hours ahead of us, and we still beat them in considerable time back to San Diego. We had to get some repairs done in Oklahoma City, but that didn't take that long. They're just a little bit slower than we were. I thought we drove through a pretty big storm about 1 or 2 in the morning going through Texas and into Albuquerque, which was kind of fun. Most kids were sleeping. I wasn't. I was driving at the time, so that may have just been a highlight for me to get through that thing safely when there's flood warnings all over the place in the freeway to get off and get off the street. I'm not sure what that meant. I've never seen that being from California here, so we just kept going and we made it. And then, it was cool because we got to drop off some players at their homes. We stopped in Arizona and dropped off a couple of our guys, be able to say goodbye to them and kind of sit there and have a little lunch with them before they took off to see them before we headed out. And then got to San Diego safely, which is the most important thing.
Now, as a coach, I don't know what your feelings are on this, but some of these guys you may never coach again, maybe never spend any time with again, and you kind of build that bond with them over the course of the season. But most importantly, in Wichita, how do you kind of reconcile those mixed emotions at the end of the season?
That's tough because, it's amazing how close we bond with some of these guys in just a couple months. And then it's funny because we got, 4 or 5 new guys that were just with us during Wichita that we picked up, and you build those relationships really fast. It's just because you're around each other all the time. So it takes me a while to kind of, switch gears. Once I get home, I'm still kind of in baseball mode and force mode. And then you don't have those contacts with them right now, other than I've made some phone calls. Some players are calling me asking me for some help with pro ball, etc. But it's tough because all of a sudden you drop them off and you don't see them again, and some you don't ever see again, or some you won't see until next year. So this year especially has been difficult because we had so many older kids on this team. I mean, we only had 3 or 4 underclassmen total. Everybody else was going to be seniors or were seniors moving on. So that's going to be difficult, but, just hope to follow them through their pro ball, whatever else they're going to be doing.
Now, speaking of the off season, what is your steps in the off season? What do you do? And maybe what are you starting to get done before, 9 months before we get started again?
Well, I'll sit down with our general manager and some of the coaches, and we'll kind of go over the year a little bit in review, and I'm going to sit down and kind of write a bunch of things I think we need to do to keep improving. If our goal is to win the NBC World Series, there's some certain things we have to start getting better at. So that'll be number one. And then number 2, to start the recruiting process. Start talking to some players. And number 1, make sure that any players that we have to come back to us, we get them back and say, hey, we'd like to be part of the force. They would like to too. And then try to branch out and get some great players from different colleges around. I know we get some of the older kids, and that's great, but I'd like to start getting more of the colleges from all over the nation and bring them out here to sunny San Diego and let them play some baseball.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. I know you guys have a mission to win the NBC World Series, and every year taking a step, hopefully, in the right direction. Now, before we close out this podcast, I know you're still working through, like everybody is, this tragedy that happened in the NBC World Series against a team, the Liberal BJs, who we've become quite close with in social media and have played them over the years. Any messages you'd like to send out there to those folks?
I don't know if words can describe how disheartening this whole thing is. First of all, hats off to the way Liberal has handled this whole situation. I watched the press conference yesterday with some of their coaches and players, and you know, those young men handled that thing extraordinarily well. Now it's national media news. The things they've said about Kaiser and what he was all about, and being able to touch on the positive things he brought to that team and how much of an inspiration he was to that team was great. And honestly, I hope they win this whole thing. First of all, if it wasn't us to win, I'd always hope that Liberal would win. But especially now, I think it's important that they go on and keep working hard for him. You and I both talked before about Kaiser being in the hotel and how much he was around us as a team.
Yeah.
And the small relationship we built with him just in a couple of days. It's just tragic what happened, but the way they've handled it's been amazing, and we've got complete support, whatever they need, whatever we can do out here from the West Coast, we will, because Liberal means a lot to us, and so did the small amount of time we had with Kaiser.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about Kaiser Carlisle, who was in our hotel, and even my sons had talked to a little bit, played with a little bit in the downtime between games, and it's just so tragic, as not just as a father, but just as a human being. And once again, anything we can do for them, like you said, we would absolutely do that. So going forward, Coach, any last words or summary? We'll try to do these podcasts during out the off season, but any one right now to close up? Any thoughts on Wichita, the season, etc.?
It's a great season. I hope to be even better next year. But the last little bit is if you check our Twitter page as well as our Facebook page, there are some areas available to donate to Kaiser's family and to the BJs, help them with some different costs. So I ask all of our fans to help out, even just a couple bucks, just keep that thing rolling. I know Pizza Hut did a thing today where they're giving $1 of every single meal they sell to a scholarship foundation from Kaiser. So it's really, really cool. So that's my most important thing right now in my mind, is just that, and tremendous season, and just how cool our players are. Honestly, just if anybody's watched that Ronald McDonald video we did, the last one, that just tells you how good of kids we have. We always go there twice this year and do things in the community as well as the things we do on the baseball field. It's a pleasure coaching these guys.
Well, thank you so much, Coach. It's been great working with you all summer, and best of luck in the off season.
Thank you. Look forward to doing it again.
All right. Thanks, Coach. As
right.
Coach Brian Bastians here on the Force Report. We'll have another Force Report. Be looking at the social media pages, and we'll be getting one out there in another month or so. And remember, you can always follow the Force on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel.